So the Max, in this particular case, is set up as a programmable additive synthesizer. This is frequency modulation synthesis, which is a different approach. We have two operators, and instead of hearing them both in parallel, we hear one as it is affected by the other. That's a fairly lame, simplistic explanation, but for our purposes, I guess it'll work. FM synthesis is good for creating bell-like sounds like that. And so all I'm doing is just delaying the envelope generator of the oscillator that's doing the controlling, the modulating oscillator. And you can see it changes the sound substantially. It's true, there's all kinds of software that will do all kinds of things. And when you look at software, you can see it along the continuum from being that software which is created from the most basic elements to that software which is very, very high level. We call it a high level software. And very, very, very basic programming would be something like the machine language. Okay? A programming language will allow you to do very, very elemental things and is very, very flexible. But it's hard to work with. It requires more knowledge. Whereas a high level language will allow you to do sometimes very sophisticated things, but it's very narrow in its approach and it's easier to work with.
That makes sense.
So something like Max is more elemental. It's not as elemental as machine code, which is talking the processor's language to it directly. But it's much more elemental to some of the kind of software you're talking about, like Pro Tools, which specifically does certain things. Although it's very flexible, it's somewhat limited.
Okay.
So this can do anything, it's just that it requires more knowledge. Now, Max is not the only kind of programming language out there meant for, sound synthesis and manipulation and control. I mean, there are others that are equally elemental and powerful. But I've just been working with it. It's a matter of choice at a certain point.
And what are the other kinds of things that people are using?
Oh, people are using a program called PD, which is actually invented by one of the authors of Max. There's a program called Super Collider, which has a pretty substantial following. Music 11 is still around. There's something called C Sound. There are all kinds of music N languages, meaning it's from the days of mainframe computers that have been ported over to work on PCs or Macintoshes. And then there is the higher level programs, like Pro Tools and those types of things, which people can buy plugins for. Oftentimes the plugins are created in programs like these.
Oh, yeah.
Max is not a computer program, it's much more a programming language. There's a difference between the two. I could actually build a Pro Tools-like program in Max. Now, that's a silly thing to do since you can go out and buy something like that, but you could do something like that. And people have in fact used Max to create plugins for Pro Tools and other platforms and things that will work as standalone higher level software.